The Federal Government of Belgium exercises executive power in the Kingdom of Belgium. It consists of ministers and secretaries of state drawn from the political parties which formed the governing coalition. Formally, the ministers are appointed by the King. The federal government is led by the Prime Minister of Belgium, and ministers lead ministries of the government. Ministers together form the Council of Ministers, which is the supreme executive organ of the government. Function and composition. At the federal level, executive power is wielded by the federal government, whilst the Prime Minister is the head of the government. Each minister heads a ministry, and secretaries of state, who are a deputy to a minister, help run these ministries. The government reflects the weight of political parties that constitute the current governing coalition for the chamber. No single party or party family across linguistic lines holds an absolute majority of seats in Parliament. The number of ministers is limited to 15, equally divided between French-speaking and Dutch-speaking ministers, according to Article 99 of the Constitution. Although the Prime Minister is officially exempt from this quota, no Francophones held the post from 1979 to 2011. Government meetings are conducted through simultaneous interpreters. The Prime Minister and his ministers administer the government and the various federal public services. As in the United Kingdom, ministers must defend the policies and performance in person before the chamber. An important de facto body is the inner cabinet, consisting of the Prime Minister and the deputy prime ministers. They meet to make the most important political decisions. Formation. After the elections, the Prime Minister of the former government offers his resignation to the King, and the formation process for a new government starts. This process is based largely on constitutional convention rather than written law. The King is first consulted by the President of the Chamber of Representatives and the President of the Senate. The King also meets a number of prominent politicians in order to discuss the election results. Following these meetings, an informator is appointed. The informator has the task of exploring the various possibilities for the new federal government and assessing which parties can form a majority in the federal parliament. He also meets with prominent people in the socio-economic field to learn the views on the policy that the new federal government should conduct. The informator then reports to the King and advises him about the appointment of the formator. However, the King can also appoint a second informator or appoint a royal mediator. The task of a royal mediator is to reach an agreement on contentious issues, resolve remaining obstacles to the formation of a federal government and prepare the ground for a formator. On July 5, 2007, King Albert II appointed Jean-Luc Dehaene as royal mediator to reach an agreement on a new state reform. The formator is appointed by the King on the basis of the informator's report. The task of the formator is to form a new government coalition and lead the negotiations about the government agreement and the composition of the government. If these negotiations succeed, the formator presents a new federal government to the King. Usually, the formator also becomes the Prime Minister. In accordance with Article 96 of the Belgian Constitution, the King appoints and dismisses his ministers. However, Article 88 of the Belgian Constitution states that the King cannot act alone, and all of his acts must be countersigned by a minister. In practice, the outgoing Prime Minister countersigns the royal order appointing the new Prime Minister. Subsequently, the new Prime Minister countersigns the royal order accepting the resignation of the outgoing Prime Minister and the royal orders appointing the other members of the new federal government. The appointed ministers take the oath of office before the King. After they have taken the oath, the new Council of Ministers meets to draw up the Declaration of Government, in which the federal government sets out the main lines of the government agreement and outlines the government agenda. The Prime Minister reads the Declaration of Government to the Chamber of Representatives, which then holds a debate on the Declaration of Government. Following this debate, a vote of confidence takes place. If the Prime Minister obtains the confidence of the majority, he can begin implementing the government agreement. Recent political developments, Catholics and later Christian Democrats have led most of the governments in Belgian history. However, from 1999 until 2007, Liberal Guy Verhofstadt led two purple governments of Liberals and Socialists, the first of which also included Greens. Afterwards, after difficult negotiations and an interim third Verhofstadt government, her government was eventually formed in 2008 led by Christian Democrat Yves Le Terme. New elections were called in 2010 after Liberal Open VLD quit the government. After a record-breaking government formation, the Di Rupo government was formed. Elio Di Rupo was the first Francophone to hold the post of Prime Minister since Paul van den Boenens left office in 1979. The formation of the Di Rupo government ended the period of political instability between 2007 and 2011. During the 2014 elections, there was political consensus to not repeat this, and the Michel government was relatively quickly formed, notably excluding socialists and including the Flemish nationalist N-VA incumbent government. The current Michel government, sworn in on the 11th of October 2014, consists of 14 ministers and 4 state secretaries formed by a coalition of the Dutch-speaking parties N-VA, Open VLD and CD and AMP-V, and the French-speaking party Mr.